Thank you. Woo! Well, so now what do? You've got a king mackerel, but you don't know how to cook it so it's not just palatable, but you actually enjoy it and want to share it with friends. Here's what I recommend. Fillet it, take the skin off, and put the meat in a bag along with milk. Let it soak in milk overnight. So a little bit of the weather is getting in the way of what I intended on cooking my king mackerel on. I wanted to do it on the grill, specifically because I've got a pretty accurate temperature gauge for this. And on this side of the grill, on the inside, I've got a searing strip, which I'll initially hit the meat with. But weather's not cooperating, so unfortunately, I'm going to do this inside today. And before I take the fish out of the refrigerator, I like to get all the condiments out and spices and cooking ware ready and set up for use. Notice the lack of butter in this photo. I use mayonnaise in place of butter because it tends to do a much better job at removing that strong fishy flavor that some of those dark fish meats have, such as king mackerel and bluefish. I'm a big fan of onion powder, garlic powder, and the pre-mixed seasonings that don't use salt as their primary ingredient. Now it's time to take the king mackerel out of the refrigerator, and it's been sitting in a bag of milk and a little bit of Italian dressing. You can see some of the seasoning there mixed in with the Italian dressing in the sink. These fillets were the perfect size for putting on the grill, and now I'm just going to have to chop them up a little bit, and it'll be a little bit more manageable for my alternate method of cooking them, which will be to pan fry them and use the oven to bake it. I'll splash a little bit of lemon juice and then rinse that off with some water. I'm not looking to overpower any of the seasonings with the lemon juice. I just want to use that to help rinse it off and really break down any of that strong fishy taste that the king mackerel has. I like to play around with different seasonings to put on this. Garlic, onion powder, some blackened fish powder. You can't really overpower the king mackerel. It's a good fish to experiment with. I'm going to take about half of this and bag it for later use while it's still fresh and let some of that seasoning seep into it. The cooking game plan is going to be pan sear the king mackerel, transfer it over to this aluminum foil, which is going to be coated up in some yellow mustard, mayonnaise, and some other seasonings. Put it in a preheated oven, 400 degrees, 5 minutes. Pan sear, wrap it up, cook. Now this is purely technique, but when I'm squirting out mayonnaise or mustard on anything, I like to make noises like ba-ding, ba-dow, ba-doy. Now I'll mix all that good flavoring and mayonnaise and mustard up so it's got a nice even layer. Once that oven hits 400 degrees, it's time to heat up that skillet. I use coconut oil, just enough of it so that the fish doesn't stick to the pan. I don't use an extremely high temperature or all the way high because I don't want splatter. I like the sizzle, but I don't want it to splatter all over me. Get a quick sear going. Now I'll fold the foil up so that the seasoning is touching the meat and none of the bare foil. I'll fold it up so it's got a good seal and that all the flavoring and juices are steamed inside of it. So far, the good news is when I opened up the oven, I didn't get a punch in the nose from the fishy smell that you would expect from king mackerel or something really fishy, but it was more of a mustardy smell, and it really, really smells good. Now let's see if I've got the cooking time down right, flaking with a fork. Oh yeah. Yes, yes. All right, so pan seared briefly, went to the oven 5 minutes at 400 degrees, and this is flaking with a fork. So I've got the texture that I want. Now it's time to taste it, and I am not one of those culinary people that's going to show a picture of myself eating food and talking with my mouth full, but behind the scenes, man, I would invite people over to eat this. This is delicious. Hi, this is Mike Senn, and I got to tell you, I started off this little project of cooking the king mackerel with a lot of different spices and everything. It's one of those fish that you can get really creative with because you're really not worried about destroying the flavor that it naturally comes with it, like with the tuna or hogfish, red snapper, grouper. Those are all you want to lightly season them. King mackerel, you can kind of go to town on, and I just wanted to try something out. Soaking it in the milk, has worked previously on bluefish up in Connecticut, cooking things in mayonnaise. Oh my gosh, this thing smelled delicious coming out of the oven, and it has not even made it to a plate. I'm wiping it out right here. That's it. I just wanted to try this out, see if this recipe will work. The texture is fantastic. It tastes delicious. I never thought I'd be saying that about king mackerel, but yes, this is delicious. I can't wait to share this type of food with some friends. But yeah, it's important. It's fresh caught right out of the ocean, sat in milk overnight, and pretty much pan seared and cooked in the oven at 5 minutes, 400 degrees. And wow, it's really good, especially if you like mustard. If you're not a fan of mustard, then this recipe would not work out for you. But wow, oh, this is good. It really is.